Musical musings, musical musings, musical musings, musical musings.
Good afternoon. Hello, and welcome back to our latest episode of Musical Musings. We air this program for you every Wednesday at 1 p.m., and it's broadcast to you from the Rajamakan University of Technology, Pranakon. This program will come to you in two parts. For our first part, I will introduce a song and a performer or band to you, and we will talk about the performer a little bit so you know some of their background or band. In this case, this week it will be a performer, a solo artist. And then we will talk about the song, what it's about, its main themes. Then we'll take a break to listen to the song. And when we come back for the second part of the program, we will analyze the lyrics of the song. The lyrics are the words. And we will especially take a look at any difficult vocabulary, slang, or idioms that are in the song. And then that'll be it. We will go to the news and the latest updates from the university as always.
Musical musings, musical musings, musical musings, musical musings.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Gary Gray, and I am your host for the Musical Musings program. I am an American English teacher here at Rajamakan University of Technology, Pranakon. I've been teaching here for 7 years, and as I have mentioned in many of my programs, I do like to incorporate some music into my teaching lessons sometimes. And so it's only natural for me to host a program for you about music. So for today's song, we will be doing the song Sailing by Christopher Cross. So first of all, let's talk about Christopher Cross. All right, that is not the name he was born with. He was born Christopher Geppert. He is from the state of Texas in the United States. He was born in 1951, so that would make him, about 73 now? I believe he's had his birthday already. If I recall, it's in May, so he has had his birthday, so he is 73, not 72. He actually started out performing in a band. And so they actually named the band Christopher Cross. He was kind of the lead singer, so they named it after him. But he wasn't really changing his name. That wasn't a stage name that he used. That was the band name. It was Christopher Cross was the band name. So he still went by Christopher Geppert. My guess is he probably still does in his private life, still go by Christopher Geppert. I don't know that for sure. Maybe he does go by Christopher Cross now. But again, it started actually as a band. And he's been performing since about 1971. I say about 1971 because that's when he was doing like full-time performing with a band, because he had actually done some work before then, like filling in for people, including some pretty big artists. There's one occurrence of him filling in a really popular band. I apologize, I did not write it in my notes, and I forget which band it was, but it's a really popular band in 1969. So it was pretty impressive that he's filling in when someone got sick. So he's been performing since before 1971, but as far as full-time performance, been since 1971. So when he was about 20 years old. Again, he was working with a band, and the band was named Christopher Cross. But then a record label signed him in 1979, and they only wanted the solo artist. And so he kept the name Christopher Cross, but it was really just him. Now, I say it's just him. Of course, he has some background instrumentalists. So it's not like it's just him on the stage with a guitar singing, which you do see that sometimes, but that's usually folk singing. Christopher Cross is more of a soft rock singer. I don't often talk about well, I often do talk about genres, but I don't like talking about genres because they overlap and mix so much. But Christopher Cross is pretty plainly soft rock. So he's a soft rock artist. So he's not a folk artist. So he's not just going to be up there with his guitar playing and singing. So of course he does have some other instrumentalists with him, but generally he is considered a solo artist. He does actually play the guitar, so he does have a guitar up there when he's singing, but there are other people with him usually. All right, so his biggest hit came out almost right away. He had like instant fame, and that is the song we're doing today, Sailing. He actually doesn't have a whole lot of other big hits. There's really only one that became a major hit, and it's Arthur's Theme. That was a really big hit as well. And I believe, I don't have in my notes what year that came out, but I believe that was in the early 1980s, if I'm not mistaken about that. So that was a little later, but not much. A couple of years later. So that was his other big hit that he had. He had like two really big hits. But Sailing is his biggest hit. So let's talk about that. It was on his very first solo album in 1979. And if you remember, I said the record label signed him in 1979. So this was pretty quickly. And it was his biggest hit. It's an interesting song because a lot of times songs have this deep meaning, and it's certainly a meaningful song. Means a lot to Christopher Cross or Christopher Geppert. Means a lot to him. But there's no deeper meaning, like it means something other than what it's saying. No. The song is about sailing. There is more meaning to it than that, yes, in his life. But the reason he's singing about it, it's definitely related to sailing. Yes. So the reason this is important to Christopher Cross is when he was younger, he had an older friend in high school who kind of was like an older brother to him. I'm guessing Christopher did not have an older brother. I'm not actually sure about that. But this friend was like an older brother to him. And one of the things that this older brother would do with him is take him out sailing. And at the time, Christopher had a lot of difficulties in his life, had a lot of problems, just dealing with a lot of different issues that were going on. So he wasn't very happy, wasn't feeling very good about life. And, a lot of teenagers go through that, but I think he had more problems than your average teenager, like maybe some problems at home or things like that. I'm not sure about all of the problems he had. He doesn't go into a lot of detail when he talks about this song and this friend. So I'm not sure what all of the different problems were that he had, but he was going through a lot. He wasn't a happy kid. And so every time he would go out sailing with his friend, they're out there by themselves. It's peaceful on the water. He just felt like all of his problems disappeared. So it was a very special time for him. It was a way for him to get away from everything. And so it made him feel really good. He loved going out with his friend sailing. It was one of the best things. In fact, as I said, this is his most popular song. Excuse me. And he won a platinum record. Now, what that is like the music industry. If you're record or your song sells a certain number of copies, they send you like a gold album or in this case, platinum if it sells a whole lot. So I don't know what the different levels are, but he got a platinum record, and he actually sent that to this friend. So that's how special this friend is to him. Getting a platinum record is a big deal. You have to sell a lot of records to get that. So he got that for this song, and so he sent that record to his friend, which was really nice. So this song is a very important song for Christopher Cross, and it's basically about finding peace, being able to just relax and forget your troubles. And it's very literal in its meaning, because it's talking about sailing, and that's actually what it was. It was sailing that brought Christopher the peace that he was looking for. Only temporary, only while they were out there. Get home and you have to deal with your problems again. But at least he was able to find some time to relax and be peaceful. All right, so let's get on to the song. So for those of you joining us via YouTube, if you've watched this program before, you know how it works. We cannot embed the video here because of copyright reasons. So please click on the link in the upper right, and that'll bring you to the video. When you're done watching the video, you can come back here and we will analyze the lyrics in the second half. Anyone else watching by listening by streaming or radio, you should have no problem whatsoever. You should be able to listen just fine. Let's get to the song.
Musical musings, musical musings, musical musings, musical musings.
All right, welcome back, everyone. So that was Sailing by Christopher Cross, and it's a song about friendship or finding peace, anything like that, in a time of need. Okay? So let's get started with the lyrics. There's several words that might be a little hard to understand that I might need to explain. But most of the meaning is pretty easy. There's one or two lines where a little tricky to figure out what he's talking about. But mostly it's pretty easy. So we start out with, well, it's not far down to paradise. Paradise is like a place where it's perfect. So it's not far down to paradise. In other words, he just needs to go sailing, and then he'll find peace. So it's not far away, not far down to paradise. At least it's not for me. So for some people, I don't know, maybe they don't find peace sailing. Maybe they're not close to being able to sail. Maybe they need to find some other activity. So he's saying that for him, this peaceful place is not far away. So that's good. That's good for him. He's able to find his peace. So it's not far down to paradise. At least it's not for me. If the wind is right, you can sail away and find tranquility. Tranquility, for something to be tranquil, means it's peaceful and quiet. So what he's saying here, if the wind is right, because you need some wind, of course, to go sailing. So if the wind is right, you can sail away. And then you can find peace. So again, he found it very peaceful, quiet. It's just him and his friend out there on the boat. And if they're sailing in the ocean, which is where most people do sail, you can sail on a lake or a pond, sure. But I grew up in an area where a lot of people sailed because I grew up near the water. We had a lot of lakes around as well. Almost never saw anyone sailing on a lake. You certainly can, but I almost never saw anyone sail on a lake. They'd take a motorboat out on a lake or a rowboat out on a lake, and they'd go fishing. Sailboats were all on the ocean. So that makes it even more peaceful because it's big, wide open. So nobody else is around. Even if a lot of people are sailing, They're probably not going to be close to you because you're on the ocean. Okay, we continue. Oh, the canvas can do miracles. Just you wait and see. What does that mean? The canvas can do miracles? Canvas. That might be a hard word to understand. Very simple. That's what the sails are made of. They're made of canvas. So he's just saying that the sails can do miracles because they take you away. They catch the wind and they take you away. And he says, just you wait and see. So basically, I think by that, he's saying, just you wait and see. In other words, you should try it. If you try it, you'll agree. So wait and see. Whenever we say wait and see, that's a saying in English. That means you will find out. Now, the only way you're going to find out is if you do it. So I think he's encouraging people to do it by saying that. Just you wait and see. Believe me, it's not far to Never Never Land. Another weird word here. Never Never Land. What does that mean? Okay. So this is a reference to a children's story you may have heard of. They made it into a movie. Peter Pan. There's also a movie called Hook, which is a long time ago, but was very famous. So some of you might have heard of Hook. Hook is basically, it's about Captain Hook. He's a character in Peter Pan. So it's kind of a switch up of the Peter Pan story, but it's related. It's related to Peter Pan. So Peter Pan lived in Never Never Land. And that was like a place to live that was magical. It was wonderful. The kids there, they would never grow up. It was a wonderful place. So when someone says it's Never Never Land, they mean it's a beautiful place. It's like a miracle. So believe me, it's not far to Never Never Land. No reason to pretend. And if the wind is right, you can find the joy. So what does he say? No reason to pretend. Well, Never Never Land is pretend. That's pretend. That's a story. But he's saying you don't even need to pretend. It's real. It's beautiful, peaceful, wonderful. So if the wind is right, you can find the joy. So again, the wind needs to be right. You need to have some wind. The wind needs to be in the right direction sometimes. I mean, that depends. I mean, it's sailing. Sailors are really good at trying to angle their boats and get things the right way. So you can actually sail in directions that the wind is not blowing in, which seems weird. Seems like that should be impossible. But if the wind is blowing too hard in a certain direction, that's the direction you're going in. So the wind does have to be right. So if the wind is right, you can find the joy of innocence again. All right, this is a term we use in English, which has a special meaning here. Innocence, someone that's innocent just means that they didn't do anything bad. Like you hear it in crime cases a lot. Like sometimes they'll arrest the wrong person. That person didn't do it. They are innocent. So, but when we talk about it with like finding your innocence or a loss of innocence, what that means is, especially when you're a kid, a lot of times your parents, especially if you have good parents, this may not be true with bad parents, but if you have good parents, you are protected from a lot of the bad things in the world. So you think the world is just nice and happy and joyful. I mean, even as a kid, not everything is perfect, right? You do something bad, you get in trouble with your parents, something like that. But mostly, everything is good. Things like wars that are going on in other countries. You're just a kid. You don't follow the news. You don't know what's going on. So that's what we mean when we talk about innocence, is you have this sense that the world around you is all good, no problems. Peacefulness again. We keep talking about that with this song. Peacefulness, happiness, all these bad things happening. We say you've lost your innocence. I'll give you an example of this on a bigger scale. During 9/11, which most of you probably are familiar with, it's when the terrorists attacked America. They said that America lost its innocence. Because before then, it was really hard for terrorists to attack America because, America is kind of by itself over there. We only have two countries on our borders, and both of them are friends with us over there in America. I say us. I'm American. So it's hard for the terrorists to get there. So if they wanted to attack America, they would attack like military targets or embassies in other countries. They wouldn't come to America and attack. It's not that we didn't ever have any terrorist attacks in America. We did, mostly by more local people. Like there was a big one in Oklahoma one time in the 1990s. Those were local people who were crazy. These foreign terrorists coming in. It's not something that we really ever had happen. There was one try. They did bomb the World Trade Center one time before that. But, it did kill some people, so not good. But it killed like 5 people. When they were trying to actually bring down the whole tower. Killing 5 people is not very successful. Still not good, killed people, but it's not a very successful terrorist attack. So, it was a big deal when it happened, but after a month or two, didn't seem like that big of a deal anymore. 9/11 was a really big deal. So a lot of people say that America lost its innocence after 9/11. So it's like when you realize the world is bad, that's when you lose your innocence. Okay, so back to the words for the song. It says, and if the wind is right, you can find the joy of innocence again. So again, it's when the world around you just looks nice. It's when you can regain your innocence. Okay, so then we get back to kind of the chorus here. Oh, the canvas can do miracles. Just you wait and see. Believe me. Sailing. This is actually, we got that before, but we didn't really get the full chorus. This is kind of the full chorus here. Sailing takes me away to where I've always heard it could be. Heard what could be? He just means it takes him away. Okay, that's it. When he says heard it could be, he means everything he's been talking about so far. The innocence, the joy, paradise, tranquility, never, never land, all those things. That's what he means. Just a dream and the wind to carry me. Soon I will be free. All right, so when we talk about carrying something, we usually mean lift it up. But we do often talk about something being carried in the wind. Now, it actually could get lifted up. Sure, it can get lifted up off the ground if you have a big storm, blows something along. But we do use that term when something's getting pushed by the wind as well. It's not technically being carried, but we say that sometimes. So don't think that sounds weird. That may sound weird in English. The wind to carry me. The sailboat's not lifting up in the air. No, it just means the wind is pushing him. So that's fine. We use the word carry that way sometimes. And soon I will be free. So remember, he has a lot of problems in his life. That's what this song is about. It's about when he had a lot of problems going on. So soon I will be free. Fantasy, it gets the best of me. Okay. This is an interesting term he uses here because we usually use this badly. And he's actually using it in a very positive way. Gets the best of me. When we say something gets the best of you or gets the best of me, it means it beat you. Now, I say it's a bad thing. We often use the term nicely. We do use even though it's a bad term because it means you lost, we use the term nicely. Like if you're playing a friend playing a game with a friend and your friend wins. You might say, you got the best of me that time. I'll get you next time. So it's not like, you're really mad that you lost. No, it's a gentle way to say you've lost, but it's still a negative thing. Something gets the best of you, it beat you, or someone gets the best of you. He's saying fantasy gets the best of him. So the way he's using this, he's actually saying it in a good way. Because when he's out there sailing, it's like a fantasy. No one else is around. All of his problems feel like they're gone. They're not gone, really, of course. Like I said, you get home, you got to deal with them again. But if his problems are with people, none of those people are around. It's just him and his friend sailing. So it's like a fantasy to him, escaping all of his problems. Okay, so that's what he means there. So he's using it gets the best of me, actually in a good way, because this fantasy just takes him over. The fantasy overwhelms all of his problems he's having. The fantasy gets the best of him. Okay, and we continue on. When I'm sailing, all caught up in the reverie. What does that word mean? There's a difficult word. Okay, to be caught up in something means you're absorbed by it. That's all you're paying attention to. Like if you go to a concert, you get caught up in the music and the performance. I hope you do, at least. You should. That's why you went to the concert, to see the music and the performance. So to get caught up in something means you're totally focused on that. It's everything to you at that moment. So what is reverie, though? That's an interesting word. All caught up in the reverie. Reverie means joy. We usually use it for celebration, just because of the context of the song. I don't really think he means celebration here. He just means happiness, the joy. He's just caught up in it. Like the previous lines said when they called it a fantasy. It's just perfect. He's just out there just loving it. He's caught up in the reverie. He doesn't really mean the celebration. At least I don't think he does. I mean, sometimes, maybe he does. Maybe he's out there goofing around with his friends. So they are essentially celebrating. They're having fun, playing games on the sailboat. I don't know what they're doing out there. Certainly sounds like they're just relaxing. They talk about tranquility and paradise. So I think they're just relaxing, but maybe he does mean celebration. I think he just means that they're enjoying themselves. Okay, every word is a symphony. Won't you believe me? All right, so this is the only line really in the whole song where I'm not really sure what he means. Every word being a symphony does mean a good thing. The way we would use that phrase, what we're saying is that every word is beautiful. So like if you're reading a poem that you think is really beautiful, you might say every word is a symphony. Or even a book, you might say that about. The only reason I'm a little confused by this one line, they're sailing. What does he mean every word is a symphony? Does he mean just the terms you use when you're sailing? There are a lot of different terms and words and phrases you use. It seems a little weird to say every word is a symphony, but maybe he does mean that. I don't know. He could, because he loves sailing so much. It brings him so much peace that even the words that go along with it just make him feel good. He could mean that. I'm not really sure. Not sure what he means by that line. But what that line would mean just in general is that the words are beautiful. When you say every word is a symphony, you mean like, oh, wow, like the symphony, a big band of music. Each one, just one word makes you feel that way. Okay. Then we get back to the chorus again. Sailing takes me away to where I've always heard it could be, just a dream, and the wind to carry me. Soon I will be free. And then we get to the last verse. Well, it's not far back to sanity. At least it's not for me. So that's like going to the back to the beginning where it says, well, it's not far down to paradise. At least it's not for me. Same thing. So when he's dealing with the world, he feels like he's not even sane, lost his sanity. When you sanity, what that means is like your mind is working right. That's sanity. Insanity is like crazy person. So he feels like a crazy person when he's dealing with all of his the problems he has in the world. So it's not far back to sanity. He just needs to go sailing again. So it's not far back to sanity. At least it's not for me. And if the wind is right, you can sail away. That's again the same line we had in the first verse. And find serenity. In the first verse, he said, find tranquility. Now he says, find serenity. Serenity means peacefulness. Serenity, tranquility, very similar words. If something is serene, it's also going to be quiet, just like tranquil. So serenity and tranquility, very similar words. I would say that tranquility is a little bit more about quietness, and serenity a little bit more about peacefulness. But very similar words. Okay, then we get the chorus, and that's the end of the song. All right. So it's a really nice song. It's a quiet song. The last couple of weeks, we've had some, or at least last week, we had a little bit of a crazy song, Psycho Killer by the Talking Heads. This is a nice, quiet, peaceful song, Sailing by Christopher Cross. And as I said in part one, he actually does not have a lot of other big hits. He is still quite famous. Most people who like Western style music, especially older Western music, know who he is. They've heard of him, but they've heard of him because this song was so big. This song was huge. This was a huge song. Like I said, it got a platinum record for this song. So they know him from this. Arthur's Theme is probably just about the only other big hit he had. It's his biggest other one, other than Sailing. But he's got a great voice, as you heard in this song, and he's also an excellent guitarist. So if you like this genre of kind of softer rock music, I still recommend you check him out. He's easy on the ears, as we say, someone that's easy to listen to because it's soft, it's gentle music. It's nice to listen to. So even though we usually talk about groups, bands, artists that are a little more popular with more hits than Christopher Cross, he's still very good. Still very good. So I would encourage you to check out more from Christopher Cross. All right. Thank you for joining us for today's Musical Musings program. Please make sure you stay with us, and don't forget to tune back in next week for another great song. Also, please subscribe to our channel. Thank you.
Musical